After a very successful second season at KFL, we knew that in order to rebuild Albania, we were going to need to make major moves. So we were looking to upgrade everywhere across the team, and I believe that we were able to do that in the summer transfer window. We wanted to have a successful time in the league, much like we have in the last couple of years, win another championship, get a little bit further in the cup, and have a bit of a better time in Europe. Sure, we made the league phase of the Conference League, but we ended up not playing very well once we got there. We needed to improve there, and we needed to make sure the rest of Albania was gonna follow suit. And welcome back, everyone. It is season number 3 of Red Rain. I am Mr. Cellophane. If you have been enjoying the series so far, please hit a like on this video and make sure that YouTube picks it up and sends it out to as many people as possible. You're not only helping out the channel, but you are sharing your love for this series with others. And I greatly appreciate all of the support you have given so far. We had a ton of players going out, most of them on development loans, but we have decided we are making relatively wholesale changes to our squad, and that started with Alfred Ajdarevic. He had 2 fantastic seasons with us, 20 goals last year, but we just could not come to an agreement on the 27-year-old Kosovan, so he is off to Broma Pajkarna, and we wish him all the best. Also on his way out the door is Realdo Fili. We picked up the striker last season. He scored 6 goals, added 7 assists for us. Was pretty good. We got him on a free, but when Beitar Jerusalem came and said, we'll give you 180,000 euros for him, we could not say no, so the 29-year-old Albanian is out the door. We also knew we were going to need to upgrade and get a little bit younger at right back, so we said goodbye to Marko Juric, the 31-year-old Croatian. After spending 2 very good seasons with us, has made his way to Aluminij. Another player who came to us via a free transfer, and we got a fee for him, so not a bad piece of business on our part. And again, looking to build up a younger core of the team, Milo Stojanovic is off to Olympia. We got 52,000 for him. We picked him up on a free. He had fallen down our depth chart, especially with some of the moves that we made on the incoming side this year. And we did want to get a little better and a little younger on the defensive lines. We turned to 20-year-old Croatian Fran Koberic. He has been training so very well. He's very consistent. He is 6 foot with an amazing jumping reach, good marking and tackling ability. Looking at all the green on his attributes page just tells me that we made the right decision, especially in the mental categories, the ones that are important for his position: aggression, anticipation, decisions, bravery, all fantastic for the Categoria Superior. I mentioned that we were looking to get a little younger at right back, and we did so by signing Bogdan Stojkovic. He is maybe not the greatest physical specimen in the world, but again, a ton of consistency. He is naturally fit, so it doesn't take a lot to get him sharp in training, and he has been showing progress since he joined the squad. Very happy to have him here. We did also sign another right back for the future. He's only 5'6", but 18-year-old Spaniard Roberto. Now, we got him in from Dom, and then we loaned him back immediately to get a little bit more seasoning. We knew he wasn't going to see enough playing time this year in order to improve us, but we're hoping in future seasons Roberto is going to be a fixture on that right back position for years to come. One thing to note, even though we do have a lot more money to spend this year, we didn't want to go blowing it just willy-nilly, and we would have needed to do that in order to retain the services of goalkeeper Alberto Savini. He just wanted too much money, and we were not ready to make him our highest paid player by a very, very, very long shot. So sadly, the 26-year-old Italian has been released on a free transfer. And the reason I bring that up is because we signed a new goalkeeper. He's Brazilian and he's 25. He loves the big matches. He is consistent, and he's got a fairly professional personality. All in all, a bit of a step above Savini. Gabriel Brazao is in 825 a week. Our wage structure is starting to get a little bit larger and a little bit more bloated as we move on. He's 6'4", Right now, he's getting some starting playing time, but he's primarily being used as a backup to Mario Dysanani, who we brought in, as you remember, last year. Also in is 22-year-old midfielder Georgi Petrovic. Now here I kind of dipped into my knowledge of players in the general region. If you were watching the Twitch stream in our Build a Nation Save in Croatia, Georgi Petrovic spent a couple of years with us at Hajduk Split. I really liked him. He couldn't really grow to the point where we needed to once we started making consistent knockout rounds of the Champions League, but he was very instrumental in helping us get there. I always liked the player, and now he is here at KF Vllaznia. I do want to make a quick mention about how we are finding the players that we are bringing in. I am not using the scouting search at all. I am relying 100% on recommendations brought to me by agents, my scouting staff, and our director of football. This team is being built as organically as possible, which could potentially lead to some growing pains, I do recognize, because we are basically limiting ourselves to the players that we could potentially know about in an organic way, which means that maybe we're not bringing in as many Brazilian wonder kids as someone normally would in this type of save. We are bringing in great players. So essentially, I'm just not filtering by the best players that are potentially available. I'm filtering through the players that are the best that my staff is telling me about, like 21-year-old Serbian striker Mihailo Spazojevic. I really like this kid, and he has been a tremendous addition to our squad for this season. Tremendous first touch, not bad with finishing or dribbling as well. Could use a little bit more pace, but he stands at 6 foot, great off the ball, and a tremendous amount of composure, and his decision-making is fantastic for this league. And he'll be joined up top by another Croatian, 23-year-old Vanja Pelško. He can also play out on the wings, but as you know from our system, we don't really play that position, so we have put him in the middle, and he is another one of those players that I'm looking for great things from. Our triumvirate up front needs to have a nose for the goal, and these guys all do. Vanja Pelško joining us, 1.3 thousand euros a week. We are paying him quite a bit, so I'm not sure how many years he will be here. We can probably get more financially friendly options, but we had the money to spend, so let's just spend it. Even though we technically start our season with our European campaign, we're going to get to that a little bit later in this video. Before the regular season started, we did have the Super Cup against Flamuntari, and while we kept them scoreless through the first 90 minutes, they were able to break through in extra time. Now, Georgi Petrovic did pick up an equalizer with about 4 minutes remaining, but from the penalty spot, Luka Broderic missed his, and Flamuntari missed none, and we ended up dropping the Super Cup, which we won so emphatically last year, 1-1 on pens. And just to give you a heads up, we're not going to dwell too long on the regular season this year, and when we get to the end of this segment, you'll know why. We started off the season with a 2-0 victory at home against newly promoted KF Terbuni with Branimir Shavar. Remember him? Yeah, we kept him around for another year. He picked up a goal, and Luka Tosi back in the starting lineup, a goal in the 17th minute, his first of many this year. In fact, Luka Tosi developed very well last season on his loan spell at Partizani, so we decided to bring him back and give him a bit more playing time. He is homegrown at Nation, after all. The 18-year-old Albanian has been spectacular, seeing upticks in his first touch, composure, decision-making, vision, positioning, most of his physicals. He really is starting to grow into himself, and we are very lucky to have him at Vllaznia. It was the next week that we stumbled a little bit. We took on Flamuntari again for the second time in 3 weeks, and this time we fell in regular time by a score of 3-2. We trailed 2-0 at the half. Vanja Pelško picking up his first goal. Fran Kovacic picking up a goal. So two of the newbies scoring in this one, but it just was not enough, and we drop all 3 points in our first road match of the year. I bring those to your attention, however, because that was the only loss we saw in the first half of the season. Through 17 matches, we've won 12, we've drawn 4, and just lost the 1. Flamatari is in second place. We're on 40 points. We've got a nice 5-point cushion at the midway point of the year. We would add to our ranks in mid-season, picking up another goalkeeper, 23-year-old Serbian Filip Samurovic. He just has so much talent, and I was so glad that we are finally getting that next echelon of player coming through our scouting reports that would actually agree to join us. A ton of ability, a great personality. Being level-headed for a goalkeeper is a great personality. Another 6'4" guy in between the sticks. His one-on-ones are great. He's good at rushing out. His communication, command of the area, aerial reach, jumping reach, anticipation, all sublime. And he's really going to help put us over the top this year. Remember how I was saying earlier, we really wanted to improve our back line. We had done it to center back. We had done it to right back. We really hadn't touched the left back position. Now, Kladji Ibrahimi was getting a ton of playing time over there. And not to slight the 18-year-old, but we needed a little bit more experience in the position. So we turned to the Ivory Coast. And from Mimosas, we picked up Zana Silue, the 23-year-old, making 1,100 euros a week. Tremendous first touch. Passing ability is good. Tackling ability is good. His crossing ability is good. Good concentration. We're really starting to take that step up. As I mentioned, he loves the big matches. He's consistent. These are things that we absolutely needed from our defense. We believe that Silue is going to help get the job done, really settle things down in front of the goalkeepers, and really propel us to success. And it was only going to get better from there. Sure, we picked up losses against Dinamo City at the end of February and Partizani at the beginning of April, but those were the only 2 red circles on our schedule for the second half. And at the end of the day, it was another very successful season in Albania as we cruised to first place. Now, Flamatari did remain in second, but we widened our lead to 16 points at the end of the day. Flamatari going back to Europe, KF Bilis going back to Europe, Dinamo City going back to Europe. It's good to see Partizani kind of knocking on the door, while Ignacia, Tuta, and Erdzeni will be relegated for the next season. The playoff semifinal pitted Flamatari against Dinamo City. An easy 2-0 victory, although things were kind of cagey for the first 45 minutes, but then Kledji Daci and Marin Abajai both scoring for the home team to move Flamatari into the finals, where I am sure it will come as no surprise that they will be taking on Vllaznia. Branimir Shavar got things started in the 20th minute. 3 minutes later, Fran Kovacic made it 2-0. We had a 3-0 lead at the half thanks to a goal from Ili Gruda, but then Bilis started to come on very late in this match. Jefferson Kiba, Vitan Tusha, if you watched our American Champions League save, our CONCACAF Champions Cup save, called the American Dream, earlier on in the FM cycle, then you know Vitan Tusha. We had him with us in Costa Rica. I tried to get him here at Vllaznia when he came across our scouting report. We just could not come to an agreement. He joined Bilis instead, and well, he's on the losing end of this one. He's going to be watching the final from home. And if you want to know how the final went, well, just look at the video behind me. 4-1 was your ultimate final score. Goals by Ili Gruda, a brace from Luka Tosi, and Bakim Balai getting on the score sheet as well. Yes, my friends, he is still around, even though Flamatari did go up to a 1-0 lead. Right after that, we immediately took control 25 minutes in and did not look back for our 3rd consecutive Albanian championship. Now, as far as the cup is concerned, you may remember we went out to a lower league team in the first round we are in, which is the second round of the competition last season. This year, we did a little bit better. 2-0 against KF Sapoti in our first match. Kladji Ibrahimi, you remember him from last year. Our youngster, the 18-year-old, scored in the 54th minute to put us ahead. Floris Spahia did add a goal just moments before the final whistle to put the final nail in the coffin of this one. Our third round matchup was not as cut and dried against Partizani at home. We would need extra time in this one, and we almost didn't even get that far. Mihailo Spazojevic scoring in the 2nd minute of added time to equalize. Bekim Balai missed a penalty in the 95th minute, but the rebound came right to the foot of Spasojevic, so he completed his brace, and we completed a 2-1 victory against our rivals to move on to the quarterfinals, which would turn out to be a much more cagey affair on the score sheet against Elbasani. Even though we managed 26 shots, 12 of them on target, Luka Tosi was the only one to get one through, and we squeaked through to the semis with a 1-0 win, where we would meet up with the team that knocked us out of this competition in our first season, KF Shkumbini. Now, this match would take place at the Loro Barici. We had home field advantage, and we took advantage. Even though they took a 1-0 lead, Mahalo Spasojevic made it equal just heading into the locker room after the first half, and then Luka Broderic, Luka Tosi, each scoring goals in the second half to cruise to a 3-1 victory and a berth in the Kupa final, where we would dominate Ertseni to win our first cup of the save and do the domestic double for the I'm not counting the Super Cup. The domestic double for the first time, 2-1. Moving on to Europe, we had really one goal this year, and that was to be better in the Champions League qualifiers, not necessarily make the Champions League phase. I think that's a bridge too far for us at this point, but not just get dumped straight into the qualifying rounds of the Europa Conference League. The only way to do that would be to get through our first round opponent. We took on Balkani from Kosovo, and we did just that, picking up a 2-0 victory. Realdo Fili, Bekim Balai, this is before that we made the transfer to send Fili out, 2-0 at home, and then a very convincing 4-2 win on the road. Luka Nenadovic back in off of his loan last year, getting things going 2 minutes in. Bekim Balai scoring in his second consecutive match, and the Lukas adding goals as well. Broderic and Tosi each with a goal apiece, and we were moving on to the second qualifying round of the Champions League, where we would not fare as well on the road in Moldova against Sheriff Tiraspol, losing 1-0 away from home. But a little home cooking was all we were going to need. 2-1 lead at the half, 3-1 win overall, a 3-2 aggregate victory over Tiraspol. Gruda, Balai, and Ramos all scoring, and we're moving to qualifying round number 3, which would send us to Ukraine and Shakhtar, and we finally hit that bridge too far, losing 1-0 on the road. A pretty good game for us, considering we only managed a single shot on target. The only way they were able to break through was from the penalty spot. But even at home, we couldn't find ourselves getting out of second gear, ultimately losing 6-2 on aggregate and out of the Champions League, albeit 2 rounds later than the year before. So we would find ourselves in the playoff leg of the Europa League. We win this tie, we're in the Europa League. We lose, we're in the Europa Conference League. Either way, we are getting league phase football, and we're pitted up against the team from North Macedonia. And that was Shkupi, and we were able to eke out a 1-0 victory at home. Even though they only managed 2 shots on goal, we fired off 31. Spazovsky, their goalkeeper, was absolutely excellent in this one. He won man of the match in the loss. Mihailo Spasojevic, the only goal scorer, but that was okay because we continued to dominate against Shkupi on the road, winning 2-1. Goals from Luka Broderic and Damiano Gini. Adhe Mazzari made things somewhat interesting in the 51st minute, but a 3-1 aggregate victory, and we're going to the Europa League phase. I got to admit, I'm kind of surprised I was able to say that the first time around. One take cello, that's what they call me. Anyway, in the Europa League phase, we once again, because we are the minnows of the competition, this being our first appearance in God knows how long, we had a pretty tough draw, and that was evidenced in our first match at home against Club Brugge. Ferran Jutgla scoring a hat-trick against us. Ildi Gruda, the only one able to get on the score sheet for us. They doubled us up on shots. They doubled us up and more in possession, and they just absolutely wiped the floor with us. So a loss in our first match in true European competition this season. And sadly, it wasn't going to get better as we traveled to Spain to take on Athletic Club Bilbao. 3-1 again, your score. I mean, when you're going up against a player the caliber of Nico Williams, when they've got Unai Simon in goal, when they've got Iñaki Williams as well, you know you are going to be in for a tough match when your goal scorer is Floris Bahia. It wasn't all doom and gloom in the competition because we came up against Utrecht in our third match. Now, Sean Bojdogan did get them on the scoreboard first, but then Luka Broderic able to equalize before the 20-minute mark. Ildi Gruda added another to give us a 2-1 lead. Then at the end of the match, we just started to pour it on. Bogdan Stojkovic, Mihajlo Spasojevic, each scoring a goal to give us a 4-1 victory and our first victory in the Europa League proper. And it seemed like we were on our path to 2 in a row as we headed to Bodo Glimt. Ildi Gruda with a brace, Luka Tosi scoring a goal. We had a 3-0 lead heading into the 57th minute, and that is where the wheels came off. Bodo Glimt scoring 4 unanswered in the next 26 minutes on the pitch to ultimately down us by a score of 4-3, which dovetailed into 2 losses in a row. Andre Yago missing a penalty in this one, which pretty much tells you all you needed to know. We just cannot solve Donstreda. 2-0, the final on the road. But then somehow, some way, we beat Bologna at home. Spasojevic with a pair of goals. Georgi Petrovic putting the nail in the coffin at the end. Ildi Gruda got one in stoppage time in the first half. And we beat a side from Serie A by a score of 4-2. Sadly, though, that would be our last win of the competition as we blew another late one. We had a point in this one, losing to Marseille on the road 2-1, before ending our Europa League campaign with a 3-2 loss at home against AZ. And even though we didn't make the knockouts, our 6 points in the competition does eclipse our tally from last year. To be fair, we did have 2 extra matches with which we could have done it. But all in all, a fairly successful campaign as we start to climb the European coefficient ladder. And now to our Albanian compatriots. Elbasani kicked things off in the Europa Conference League Path first qualifying round, first leg with a 2-2 draw on the road against FCI Levadia in Estonia, and didn't let a Denison Silva missed penalty get them down. He did score earlier in the match as well. 2-0 at home in the reverse fixture to win the tie 4-2 on aggregate, where sadly they would be undone by a Ukrainian side much like we were, taking on Zorya, losing 3-2 on the road, for some reason deciding to go 5 at the back for this one. Not that there's anything wrong with 5 at the back, it's just not their normal formation. And then Alberto Simoni did manage a single goal. Unfortunately, Zorya scored 3 of their own. 6-3 on aggregate. Elbasani was done in Europe. Clementari probably got what I would have thought would be an extremely tough draw, taking on the New Saints in their first qualifying round matchup, but in Shrewsbury, they managed a 4-0 victory. And then even though they only scored 1 at home, they managed to keep their second consecutive clean sheet in Europe, down to TNS 5-0 overall. And then managed to have trouble on the road in what is generally thought of as an easier tie, taking on KR in Reykjavik, but losing by a 1-0 score, only managing a single shot on target. But managed to bounce back nicely, 3-0 at home to take the tie 3-1. Unfortunately, the third qualifying round would be the end of the road. They could not manage a goal in either leg of this tie against Lillestrøm, losing to the Swedes 3-0 on aggregate. And then there was Bilis. They easily got past Armenian side Alashkert 3-0 on aggregate in the first qualifying round, before unfortunately getting matched up against Hammarby. Now, Vitintusha did manage a goal in the home leg, and they picked up a victory, as well as the coefficient points that come along with it, but ended up losing 3-1 on aggregate. The only other plus of this tie for these guys is they played on TV on the road in front of 23,500 fans. The question is, did we gain or lose ground as we look to move up the European coefficients? Well, remember, we started in 40th place, right ahead of North Macedonia, who had leapfrogged us after season 1. Now, they are going to pass us once again, but we're not going to concern ourselves with that too much. But we picked up 4.125 points which is better than the 3.875 we got the year before, and much better than the 2-point year that we are losing. And in a couple of years, we're going to be losing a very bad year in 0.875. So we can really make a lot of headway in season number 5. Looking forward to that. So it gives us a total of 11.75 points, which, if I am doing my math correctly, will move us up 3 spaces into 37th, which I believe won't have an impact on our Champions League qualifications, but it will bump one of our Europa Conference League qualification spots into the second qualifying round, which just gives us a better opportunity to move forward into the league phase. The big question, though, is will we be able to get there? We're going to find out on Friday when we come back with season number 4. Slowly but surely, we are moving Albania up the charts. We started in 48th. We're in 37th as we kick off season 4. How are we going to do in Europe? Well, we're just going to have to tune in and find out. And are our European compatriots going to strengthen their sides for continental competition, or are they going to continue to get bounced pretty early? We'll find that out as well. If you've enjoyed this video, thank you so very much for making it this far. I really appreciate all of the likes, all of the new subscribers. We're working towards 300. Season number 4 is Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern, right here on this channel. I hope to see you there. In the meantime, you can check out our Director of Football save. We are with Russell Olympic in the Vanarama National League North. That comes out every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday at the same time. Thank you all very much for being here. I will catch you in season 4. Until then, my friends, bye-bye.